The following program is produced by Laura K. Henderson, Michael Ray Helms, and Jen Hebben, under the direction of executive producer Laura K. Henderson and the board of All Ears Theater, with funding provided by an anonymous donor and the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation. All Ears Theater. Traveling the highways of life, we encounter strangers and make lasting friendships, and we are enriched when humor enters the picture. This is one of those stories, a slice of life comedy that features human interaction, romance, chivalry, laughter, and a few corny jokes. Listen now as All Ears Theater brings you Acid Indigestion, an original script by Robert M. Weir. Featured in the cast are Annette Cannon, Tim Eschelbach, Greg Grooters, Jen Hebben, and Krista Roberson. We take you now to a truck stop just north of San Antonio, Texas.
Hey there, good buddies. I'm talking to you all, you folks right here in this audience. My name is Bronco. I'm an independent over-the-road truck driver out of San Antonio, Texas. I travel just about everywhere in this U.S. of A., but most of my runs are from Central Texas to Chi-Town, Chicago, you Midwesterners call it, the Windy City. That's where I'm driving to today. Yesterday, on my off day, I washed and fueled my tractor. I call her Ruby Rambler because she's a pretty shade of lustrous red. I picked up my load early this morning. Just now, I pulled into this truck stop to connect with you. So let me ask you, are you willing to suspend reality and ride along with me? Let me see your hands. There you go, there you go. I was worried it's a radio program and you wouldn't be able to hear me, so thank you. You want to go for a truck ride with me? Let me hear you. Good, now just step right on up in here to old Ruby Rambler here and take a seat. That's it. Watch your step. Don't worry, y'all will fit. Now I'm just gonna climb into my seat. Just settle yourself into that passenger seat and make yourself comfortable. I'll settle into my seat. And buckle up, buckle up. I ain't pulling out on the highway until everybody is secure. That's a big 10-4 for sure. Good. Everybody buckled in? Okay, let's go. We got a load to deliver. Oh, and I like to listen to a little background music while I drive. I hope that's okay with y'all. Okay. So like I said, my name is Bronco, but nobody ever calls me that except my missus and my mama. So please, just do like everybody else does out here on the highway and call me by my CB handle. I'm Acid Indigestion.
Breaker 19, this is Curly Bear. Is that you, Acid Indigestion, pulling out of that truck stop on Interstate 35?
Yeah, Curly Bear. You got acid indigestion. Come on back up.
I thought that was you, Acid. Where are you heading?
Chi-Town. What about you?
Omaha.
Is the honey bear riding with you today?
I'm here, Acid Indigestion. We got both rigs on the road today, so we're running to Omaha in tandem. And I got me a brand new truck, Acid. She's a beaut, better than the old one.
Honey Bear's old truck was a water truck.
A water truck?
Yeah, it only ran downhill.
What are you two hauling?
I got a load of musical instruments, horns and clarinets and saxophones and such. Curly Bear's laden with pianos.
Pianos, she means to say. I got the heavy load and hers is full of air. And what are you hauling, Acid?
Antacids.
Really?
No, I got you on that one. I got a load of pallets.
Pallets? You mean you're hauling empty pallets?
No, I got pallets loaded with pallets.
Then you got a load of nothing. I mean, why would anyone ship pallets from Texas to Chi-Town?
Beats me. I just pick them up, drop them off, and collect my pay.
Yeah, well, me and the Honey Bear are going to get paid in artificial hair on this run.
Artificial hair? What do you mean?
We're going to get a toupee. Honey Bear gets paid, and I get paid. That's a two-pay. You get it?
Oh, brother.
You see what I put up with, Acid? On the road and at home, it's all the same. Well, no, that's not true. It's worse on the road because there's more of an audience out here for old Curly Bear. He gets to telling jokes on the CB and thinks the whole world is laughing.
Yeah, it's like with old Professor Oppernockety.
Professor Oppernockety? Who's that?
Don't ask, Acid. Don't encourage him.
Too late, Honey Bear. He asked already, and I'm obliged to answer. You see, Acid, Professor Oppernockety is a famous Piany tuner-upper up there in Chicago. Maybe you'll hear about him when you're up there. He was hired by the Chicago Symphony to tune their Grand Piany for some big superstar. So he come in and he did it. But the superstar said the Piany weren't tuned right and insisted that Oppernockety come back and do it over. But old Oppernockety refused. Do you know why, Acid?
Don't answer him. You'll regret it.
Oh, Honey Bear, I got a bite. Okay, Curly Bear, why did the piano tuner refuse to retune the piano?
Because Oppernockety tunes but once.
I warn you.
Oh, Honey Bear, that wasn't too bad. I've heard him tell worse.
I hear him tell worse every day. Where are you at anyway, Acid? We passed you coming out of that truck stop.
Mile marker 175.
You're only a mile back. Put that hammer down and get yourself up here.
Breaker 19, is that the world-famous acid indigestion northbound on I-35?
Yep, you got acid indigestion. Come on, back up.
This is the Red Rose of Texas. My husband is Big Red. He's a trucker, too. He tells me whenever I'm out on the road to keep my ears on for you.
Big Red? Yeah, I know him. Heck of a nice guy. Bigger than Blue Blazes, too. What is he, like 6'6"? And with that big shock of red hair way up there on top of his head, he's quite a sight.
That's him. He makes a lot of runs up to Dallas-Fort Worth. He don't like the long runs, so he can be home with me and the kids most nights.
I know your husband too, Red Rose of Texas. This here's the Honey Bear, northbound with my hubby Curly Bear and our friend Acid Indigestion.
Oh, acid indigestion ain't no friend of mine. I like it calm in my tum-tum.
What you say?
I ain't talking about acid indigestion, the truck driver. I'm talking about having an upset stomach. Gas, heartburn, you know, like what I get when I eat that truck stop food.
I thought you was talking about...
Oh, never mind. I was just trying to make a joke. It looked all right in the script, with a small A and a small I on acid indigestion.
Well, that joke plopped like a lead balloon, Curly Bear. Radio audiences can't tell if you're reading capital letters or small letters. So, Red Rose of Texas, what you doing out here on the highway?
Heading to work up in Austin. I'm a tax preparer, and it is tax season.
Oh, the red rose of taxes, counting numbers all the day, figuring out how much money people's got to pay.
Quiet, Curly Bear.
He sure can't sing.
Never could, but he keeps trying. So, Red Rose, do you have red hair like Big Red does?
Redder. That's why my name isn't the Yellow Rose of Texas.
Are your kids redheads too?
No, they're towheads.
Is it time for the milkman joke?
Curly Bear, shush.
Oh, you're right. I'm out of date. It would be the mailman joke, or the emailman joke.
Curly Bear.
It's all right, Honey Bear. Big Red and me get that all the time. Both of our mamas are light blondes, while both of our daddies are redheads. I guess our kids get their genes from our moms.
I get my genes from the department store.
Curly Bear, shush.
So anyway, acid indigestion, Big Red said that if I ever heard you on the CB, I was supposed to break her in and call out your handle.
You ain't the first to say that, Red Rose. Whenever you're out on the highway, you just might get acid indigestion.
See, that's what I mean. You can get acid indigestion, heartburn, whatever, just by driving.
Depending on traffic, right, Curly Bear?
That's right.
So, Honey Bear and Curly Bear, have you always had those handles?
No, I used to be Big Bear.
And I was Queen of Hearts.
'Cause she's the queen of my heart.
Oh, that's sweet. How did you get the handles you got now?
Curly Bear's got thick curly hair all over his body.
And when Honey Bear puts her hands on my chest, she gets stuck there like honey in a hive.
Actually, Red Rose, I'm the Honey Bear because I'm so sweet.
Yes, she is. Seriously. No joking about that.
Well, guys and gal, it's been fun. I'm getting off at the next exit. Keep your rig between the white lines, and I hope to catch you again on the flip-flop.
Or the beach sandals.
Yeah, Red Rose, you drive careful now. And by the way, I know your husband too. He's a good man, faithful to you no matter how many nights he's out on the road. You copy? Over.
I don't think she heard you, Honey Bear.
It don't matter. She knows.
Okay, you two, I got a question for you. You've been driving together for how long now?
40 years next July.
And we only had one truck back when we started, so Honey Bear rode along with me every chance we got.
So you were driving in the heyday for CB radios.
That's right.
It's hard for me to imagine CBs is the only way to communicate between drivers. What with today we got cell phones and Smokey Bear radar detectors and GPS for directions and satellite radio for entertainment.
But, of course, drivers can't use their cell phones when hauling down the road. Both hands on the wheel, you know.
I still like talking on the CB. Like when there's an accident or a road problem right here where we are, the word gets out faster.
I like the way we can chat.
And tell jokes.
The FCC says we're not supposed to chat or tell jokes.
Now, the FCC don't got a sense of humor.
Neither do some truckers. There was one time when I was riding with Curly Bear, and this was when we were first married and just getting started. We were pulling into a truck stop, and the airwaves were all a chatter about some poor driver who was having a hard time backing his rig into a tight spot. They were catcalling him and saying all sorts of not nice things.
What happened?
Well, as we were coming into that truck stop, I saw the trucker who was having trouble.
Yeah, and I got mad. I mean, I'm not always fun and games, you know. I got on the CB and I gave a tongue lashing to those other drivers. I said, if you're all such hot shots, why don't you go help the guy?
So Curly Bear did. That's why I love my man. He parked our rig and strode over there to where the other trucker was struggling.
And when I got there, I asked him if he needed help. Man, you should have seen the look on his face. He was dog-tired whipped. He should have pulled over 2 hours earlier. And he was young, too, about 20 or so.
Just like us back then.
He said his wife was pregnant and the baby was due. He was supposed to be home 2 days before, but there was a problem with his load, and he had a flat tire that took forever to get fixed. He'd been pushing himself till he finally had the decent sense to get off the road. I said to myself, this dude is lucky he didn't cause an accident and get himself killed.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Then in that parking lot, there weren't much room, and he couldn't find a decent place to park. He was so tired and flustered that he couldn't remember which way to turn the wheel to make the trailer go right or go left. Oh, when backing up, that is.
And he still had his CB on, listening to those other drivers jab and jaw at him. That only made it worse.
Yeah, and he was so out of it that he didn't have the sense to turn that CB off.
So what did you do?
Curly Bear got behind the wheel and drove his rig to his home.
He gave me his handle, Rusty Flowers it was, and his address. Then he fell fast asleep. He slept all the way.
What about your rig?
I drove it. I didn't have my commercial license then, but I'd been with Curly Bear long enough that I knew what to do. I just followed them and we went slow.
Did you ever hear from this Rusty Flowers these days?
Are you kidding? We're going to one of their grandkids' high school graduation in May.
Really?
Yeah. And on that night, Curly Bear drove him home. Rusty and his wife were so grateful that they invited us in for a late night supper.
Yeah, the poor guy was famished as well as dog-tired. And his wife sure was pregnant. As round in the belly as Frosty the Snowman and old Saint Nick combined.
It was after midnight, and she was awake because she knew we was a-coming.
Yeah, that's right. That's an important part of this story. Acid indigestion, you was asking about the olden golden days of CB radio.
Right.
Back then, all the truckers and a lot of four-wheel drivers had CBs, and the network was awesome. A trucker could put out a call and ask other truckers in a certain direction to pass the word on for miles ahead.
That's what Curly Bear did that night. Before Rusty fell asleep, he told Curly Bear his handle and the handle of his wife.
Scarlet it was. Scarlet Sage.
Whoa, wait a minute. Their handles were Rusty Flowers and Scarlet Sage? Really? Now I suppose you're going to tell me they love plants.
Their house was full of them. Gorgeous plants and flowers in a boatload of colors.
Like a jungle. Honest truth this time, Acid. No joke.
Not only that, Acid, those were their real names, not just their CB handles.
You're kidding.
No. I was visiting Scarlett one day, and over a cup of coffee, I had asked her. She had pulled out their birth certificates and showed me. They met in high school, she said, and figured, with names like that, they were destined to be married.
So anyway, Acid, back to the story. Rusty told me that his wife had a CB radio at home, and he asked me to put out the word that he was okay, and asked other truckers to pass it on. Over 150 miles that message went out, a few miles at a time. Just like playing that grade school game where the teacher whispers a secret message to one kid and each kid passes it on to the next. What's the name of that game, Honey Bear?
Telephone. Only with that kid's game, the message usually gets all scrambled up. But that's not the way it was with those truck drivers that night. Curly Bear put out the word. Tell Scarlet Sage that Rusty Flowers is on his way home. He's safe and sound and will be there a little after midnight.
And that's the way the message went through. Unscrambled. Pure as a driven snow.
Then, it was about an hour later, we were halfway to Rusty's home. We got the word back from Scarlet that she was fine and expecting us.
And still expecting the baby, too. Well, that's the way the CB network worked back then. It was awesome. But I gotta tell you, Acid Indigestion, when I was pulling out of that truck stop in Rusty's rig, I sure as heck wanted to be like that truck driver in the joke about backing over the motorcycles.
What joke is that?
Well, I've sort of given you the punchline, but okay. You see, there was this truck driver eating his lunch in a little out-of-the-way diner. One of those old-fashioned places with a serving counter that's been worn smooth with hands and plates sliding over it over the decades and red-padded stools that swivel. Now, he was just finishing his pie and second cup of coffee when 4 young punks in motorcycle garb walk in, sit down on both sides of him, and start hassling him. The owner and waitress try to stop the hassling, but the truck driver just shrugs it off, lays his meal money on the counter, and walks out without saying a word. Well, the punks start laughing and saying what a coward that truck driver is when the waitress, she's been looking out the window, you see, she says, he's not much of a truck driver either. He just backed over 4 motorcycles.
That's a good one, Curly Bear.
Yeah, well, that's what I would have done to those yo-yos on their CBs who were giving young Rusty Flowers a hard time. Well, if they was riding motorcycles, that is.
Curly Bear did chew him out.
Yeah, I guess I said a few cuss words that the FCC would frown upon. But like I said, the FCC don't got no sense of humor anyway.
So you did a good deed that night.
The story gets better. I bought Rusty's truck.
What?
Rusty was sitting there at his kitchen table, chowing down. They had a small mobile home, one of those modular units that was more permanent than mobile, just like we did. And Rusty tells Scarlet that he's going to give up trucking. Said it was just too much stress to be away from home on multi-day runs, he says. And he'd been worried that he wouldn't get there to be with her to the hospital and would miss the baby being born. She asked what they're going to do for money, and he says he doesn't know. But whatever he does, it'll be better than him being away from her.
So Honey Bear looks at me, and I give her a nod.
And I say to Rusty, I'll buy your rig. Curly Bear and I had been talking about it anyway, figuring we could use 2 incomes instead of 1.
But that means you would be out, going different directions some of the time, not being together.
We were okay with that. We had decided not to have kids, and so we'd got 2 trucks instead. And then there were the times when
we'd meet up on the road and crawl up into one another's sleepers for a little, you know.
So we could have a little nap together.
It was like having a rendezvous love affair with your own wife.
We did have some good times.
So what happened to Rusty Flowers?
He sold his truck to me within the week. I had to get a loan, but that was no big deal. And I got my over-the-road license, too. He used the money to go to school and to learn to run the construction equipment.
Big yellow big boy toys.
And started working road construction.
Local jobs where he could be home every night.
Rusty and Scarlet have 4 kids. She was pregnant with the first one when we met them, then 3 more, each one about a year apart.
And we've seen every one of them when they was babies. We've been to graduations and weddings and school plays when they was little tykes.
And the youngest one's daughter is going to graduate from high school in May, and we'll be there. Wouldn't miss it.
Uh-oh, we got construction ahead. Narrow lanes, too. Back 'em down to 45.
Got it. Sorry, passengers, but I shut off the music when driving in tight places like this.
Lane shift ahead with rumble strips. Get ready to rumble!
Okay, so I gotta ask. You both been driving for what, 40-some years now? You gonna retire?
Well, you bet. We're already cutting back. We haven't taken jobs in December and July for the last 2 years.
We're thinking that next summer might be our last.
I'm ready to stay home and spend some time at the condo pool.
You live in a condo? That's quite a step up from a mobile home.
Yeah, we've done all right for the years.
But where do you park your rigs?
At a truck terminal for one of the big shipping companies, about a mile away. We lease 2 slots for not too much money.
So how do you get between your home and your rigs?
Well, acid indigestion, can you read the sticker on the back of my trailer?
My other car is a golf cart. That's cute.
Oh, it's the truth. And it runs on batteries, so we don't need to buy no diesel. Construction zone ending, lane shift. So, acid indigestion, I got a serious question to ask you. Do you know how many psychiatrists it takes to change a light bulb?
Oh, come on now, Curly Bear, give it a rest.
How many, Curly Bear?
Only one, but the bulb's gotta wanna change.
I swear, Curly Bear, when are you gonna change?
Soon as I find me a good shrink. But then I ain't looking for one either. Hey, do you see them cows lying over there in that field on the right? You see them, Acid.
Yeah.
Do you know what it means when cows lie down?
Well, it has something to do with weather, like it's gonna rain or it's not gonna rain, something like that.
No, you're overthinking, Acid. It just means they is ground beef.
Good grief, Curly Bear. You tooting your own horn back there, Acid, or just ignoring the Curly Bear's silly jokes?
Did you see the kids up on that overpass?
No.
3 of them, about 8 or 9 years old. Little urchins pumping their arms up and down. I used to do that when I was a kid back in El Paso. I'd go out at night after supper to the highway near my home and stand there until dark, pumping my arm up and down at every truck that went by. Only about 1 in 10 would give me a blast, so I made a promise that when I was going to be a trucker, I'd sound my horn to every kid who asked.
You were born to be a trucker, acid indigestion, honestly.
Yeah, I guess so, Honey Bear, I guess so.
Did you ever pick up hitchhikers? I picked up a hitchhiker once. It was a photon. Didn't have a backpack because it was traveling light.
Honestly, Curly.
I'll pick up riders if they look special to me, like the people I got riding with me right now.
Right now? You got passengers, plural, riding with you right now?
Yeah, about 100 people from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
What? Kalamazoo? That's not on your route from San Antonio to Chi-Town.
Isn't there a song about Kalamazoo? A gal in Kalamazoo.
My hitchhikers are, well, you gotta use your imagination to understand. I know you weren't here at the start of the show when I asked these people to ride along with me, but every last one of them said they would, so they're my hitchhikers, so to speak.
Breaker 19, this is Officer Garrett of the Texas State Highway Patrol. Is that the famous acid indigestion tying up this citizen band airwave with a lot of chatter?
Well, hello there, Miss Smokey Bear. Yeah, you too got acid indigestion. Come on back up.
Bronco, you scoundrel. You must have sensed I was back there under that overpass and slowed down just in time.
Bronco? Did she call you Bronco?
Well, let's keep it formal, Miss Smokey Bear. Just call me acid indigestion.
Bronco is the name you gave when I issued your latest citation.
Your memory's too good.
You're quite unforgettable.
Actually, Smokey Bear, me and my friends here are keeping nicely under the speed limit. We've got precious cargo.
Like what?
Honey Bear's got musical instruments, and Curly Bear's got pianos.
And acid indigestion has got empty pallets. Nothing precious about that.
Well, I just pulled out on the highway behind y'all. Maybe I'll have to catch up and check out those loads. Musical instruments, pianos, and pallets, huh?
Hey, you two, close up ranks. There's a sign ahead.
What's that? Oh, yeah, I see. Come on up close, Acid. Ride my tail.
Yeah, I see it too. I'm moving up. Officer Garrett, Ms. Smokey Bear, you just went flying by us.
Was that you in the red truck?
That's the Ruby Rambler, don't you remember? I guess I'm not so unforgettable after all.
Well,
And you know what, Miss Smokey Bear? You also didn't see a very important sign on the right side of the highway when you went whistling past us in that left lane.
what's that?
The sign that says, "Welcome to Oklahoma."
What?
Yes, ma'am, you are literally out of your territory.
Watch out for the Okie Smokies.
Smokey Bear's turning into that emergency vehicle crossing and getting out of her car. And she's waving at us.
It's a cop, by gosh, in a bubble top car, standing there waving at me.
Well, that was fun.
Sure was.
So, acid indigestion, where are you gonna stop for the night?
Well, who said anything about stopping?
You can't make it all the way from San Antonio to Chi-Town in one night.
True, but we can make it there in 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yeah, seriously. Remember what I said earlier about suspending reality?
Acid indigestion, what in tarnation are you talking about?
Well, way back at the start of this show, like I said, I invited this group of people in Kalamazoo, Michigan, maybe 100 of them, to ride along with me. But they can be gone from Kalamazoo for only about 30 minutes. Then they gotta be back to this really nice church for the end of the show. Then they got other places to go and people to meet, so we gotta wrap up this run pretty darn soon.
I'll tell you, Honey Bear, I don't understand him.
Curly Bear, what acid indigestion is saying about suspending reality does make some sense. Think about it. The script says he's carrying a load of pallets from Texas to Chicago. Pallets? Really? That doesn't make sense. For that matter, what do people in Omaha need with a whole trailer load of pianos and musical instruments?
Well, maybe you got a point.
And when we're out on the highway, in reality, every time we key the mic to say something, we're supposed to call out Breaker Breaker 19, this is, and say our handle. Can you imagine what this show, as Acid Indigestion calls it, would be like if we had to say that with every line? Boring.
And long. We'd never get to say all those good lines that the scriptwriter wrote.
Yeah, in fact, this whole script has been nothing but chit-chat. More like we're sitting down around a table at a truck stop diner rather than driving down the highway. Oh, and Curly Bear, there have been times in this script when you and I were both talking at once. Back when Smokey Bear was called Acid Indigestion Bronco, that's not possible with real CB radios. Acid, is your name really Bronco?
I'm not going to answer that, Honey Bear, but think about this. The reality is, these days, most truckers don't even use CBs. The ones who drive for the freight companies have these rear-facing in-cab cameras that watch their every move. They can't even eat a candy bar. 2 hands on the wheel, you know. So holding a CB microphone is a big no-no. Just like talking or texting on a cell phone.
I sure am glad I'm an independent hauler. No joke.
So what you're saying, Acid, is that this whole script is a suspension of reality, right?
Right.
What about my jokes? They were real, weren't they?
Yes.
And what about
Unfortunately.
that description in the character list where it says, I can't carry a tune? That's not true.
You
I
can't.
Well, but I still don't know. But maybe, as you say, maybe the script really is just a pigment of imagination.
You mean figment.
No, I mean pigment with a P, like in Pie Annie.
Curly Bear, now I don't understand you.
No, listen. Think about all the times that the color red has appeared in this script. Red Rose of Texas and Big Red, Rusty Flowers and Scarlet Sage, Queen of Hearts.
And remember my tractor, the Ruby Rambler.
Well, yeah, that's the pigments I'm talking about. And you know, there's something else. What's with that line I was singing when we saw the Smokey Bear back there in Okie Land? Something about a bubble-top car? What's a bubble-top car, anyway?
I think the scriptwriter meant to write a cop car with a bubblegum machine on top. You know, one of those big, bulky red lights. But that's too many syllables for the melody, so he probably just...
Yeah, and nowadays most cop cars have low-profile lights of red and blue and white.
Smokey Bear, what are you doing here?
Hey, if we're suspending reality, then I can jump from where I was earlier in the script and be here at the end, too.
Yeah, me too.
Red Rose of Texas, is that you?
It's me, all right. I took the night off work, left the kids with my hubby, and came here. I want to see how this show ends.
And I don't care if I am out of Texas. If any local Smokies object, I'll just say I'm off duty.
So, Curly Bear, do you believe now that this show is just 30 minutes of suspended reality?
Well, I'm still not sure. You know, if you
Okay, Curly Bear. Well, listen to this. Okay, everybody here in the audience, I'm going to key the mic on my CB radio. I'll hold it open and you say hi to my friends. You say, howdy, Honey Bear, howdy, Curly Bear. Ready? Here we go. Howdy, Honey Bear, howdy, Curly Bear. Great. Now, put your right hand up over your head and pull it down. That's it. Now, a couple times more. Pump your arm up and down like you're signaling a truck driver to sound an air horn. Yeah, that's it. See, Honey Bear and Curly Bear? That was them. That was my passengers from Kalamazoo saying howdy to you and getting me to sound off my horn. Now, We're going to pull into that truck stop up ahead. The Matawan exit it is on the north side of the highway, and I'll introduce you to them.
I want to meet them too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so Honey Bear, Curly Bear, Smokey Bear, and Red Rose of Texas. Meet the fine folks from Kalamazoo who came to All Ears Theater tonight.
Howdy,
everyone.
All ears what? I don't get that. They got all their ears on.
All Ears Theater, Curly Bear. It's a Kalamazoo thing.
Are you making a joke, Acid?
Not at all, but we got to stop yammering and wrap up this show now. Our 30 minutes are almost up. We've had a good time heading down the highway of life, but before we go, we do have some final advice.
Don't drive with acid indigestion.
Is that acid indigestion with a capital A and I or a small A and I?
Well, I got a small A and I in my script. Is that what you got?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
small A and I. Yeah.
But it could be acid indigestion with a capital A and I too. Like, don't drive in a convoy with acid indigestion. He'll chat your leg off.
Okay, Curly Bear, but I could say something about your jokes, too.
Don't. He's likely to tell another one.
Did you hear the one about the guy?
You got acid indigestion. Come on back up. But seriously, folks, when you go out on the highways, turn off those cell phones, buckle up those seatbelts, keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road, and drive between the white lines.
That's a big 10-4.
You've been listening to Acid Indigestion by Robert Weir, directed by Ron Centers, with sound engineering by Lester Batts of Sound Solutions and Martin Clem of Kalamazoo Recording. The music was composed by Riley Callan and performed by Evan Callan and Annie Beach. Sound effects were performed by Steve Rossio and Gary Browne. This nonprofit production was performed at the First Baptist Church and KNAC and is copyrighted by All Ears Theater with all other rights reserved by the author. Any resemblance to persons living or dead or characters' names, places, or incidents is purely coincidental. This is your announcer, Glynis Fenn, thanking you for listening and inviting you to join us again for another All Ears Theater presentation.